Hi everyone. I would normally not assemble food in the bedroom, which is where we are, but our neighbours over there are putting up scaffolding. So I've pulled in this table from the kitchen, and I mean, there are books behind me. It looks better in here anyway. I said I wanted to film a video where I talk to you about some of the things that have brought a smile to my face recently during lockdown, and you can leave me comments down below telling me things that have helped you. We can share resources and help each other out. I said that I wanted to do something while talking to you, multitasking. I said, would you like me to A, do origami, or B, make homemade flatbread and homemade hummus? It was a pretty even split, but the majority of you voted for flatbread and hummus. But Jen, you may say, this does not look like flatbread and hummus, and you would be right, because I remembered as I was getting ready to film this that I'm making pizza for dinner tonight, and I'm not sure double bread is something that I want to have today. Some days that'll be fine because bread is great, but not today. So instead I am cooking and mixing a little bit of the Japanese with the origami to make maki. We're going to be making really straightforward sushi, like the most basic sushi ever. It's cucumber maki. Pretty sure this is vegan, so if you want to try it out at home, go for it. As I said, it is the most basic form of sushi, but it still feels like an accomplishment, and it's super tasty. Apologies to all of the Japanese people out there who I may offend with my terrible technique. I'm also working with what I have in the cupboards and the number of digits that I have as well, which is always a fun game to play. So in case you want to make it at home, I have sushi rice here. Sushi rice you wash thoroughly first, and then you put in cold water in a pan for half an hour. For every 190 grams of rice, use 300 milliliters of water. After it's sat in the pan for half an hour without the gas being on, you bring it to the boil, then simmer it for 12 minutes until all the water has gone, and then let it cool. I have the Japanese sushi nori, which is the seaweed that we're going to roll the rice and the cucumber in. Because cucumber is not that exciting, I have also mixed up some wasabi paste with mayonnaise, and I'm going to put that in too. I have cucumber here. I was going to do some avocado ones as well, but when I cut into the avocado, it had gone bad, which was sad times. So we have cucumber. This is actually one of my happy things, organization-wise, that has brought a smile to my face. This is Beeswax Wraps, and they're great. They're reusable. You just wash them down, use them again. I will link them down below. So I have my cucumber, and I also have this mat, which I'm not sure it's 100% necessary, but it definitely makes the rolling bit easier. So I'm going to assemble all of these things while talking to you about things that have made me happy. I've got a list down here on the floor so that I remember, and because I am assembling food with my hands, I am going to be inserting lots of cutaways to show you the things that I'm talking about, because I will not be able to hold them up as we go. So before I assemble anything, I need to cut up the cucumber. I'm just going to do it into thin strips and cut out the really watery bit in the middle, because you don't really want that in your sushi. So, list of favorites. The first on my favorites, board games. Of course, I really think that we have pretty much, well, definitely enough board games to be getting on with. And it was Mr. M's birthday recently, and he asked for some board games. So I have massively benefited from his birthday, which was great. And the three that I would say that we have played the most recently are Castles of Burgundy. It's a game where you have to complete a kingdom. I'll insert a cutaway here so you can see the boards. You each have an individual board you're trying to complete, which is a little bit like a jigsaw with different terrains and different colours. And you can pick up different pieces to help complete your kingdom from the central board in the middle. And a roll of the dice determines what you are allowed to pick up and what you are not allowed to pick up. So it has that great balance of skill and luck as well. And another game that we've loved recently is Illimat. I will admit that the main reason, in fact the only reason that I bought that game is because it is illustrated by Carson Ellis, whose work I adore. I've got, I think, all of her picture books. I think that she is great. So I thought the illustrations were superb, beautiful, bought it. It's actually turned out to be one of our favourite games. I would say it's the one we play the second most frequently, and the most frequently one I'll speak about in a second. But Illimat is a card game where it has an element of tarot, so you have to collect cards from the board in front of you that equal the value of the cards in your hand. and you have to clear certain areas which are called seasons. If you clear a season, you get to flip over a main card that changes the way the game is played. So for instance, there is a main card called the Rake where you have to sacrifice a card to him every turn. There is a main card called the Changing, which means you can exchange one of your cards for another card in that season every go. It again has that great element of skill and also chance. I'm gonna move these over here. Actually, this one needs to be made a little bit thinner. There we go. Gonna eat this too, which is great because you get to snack as you go. When you take out the seaweed, you want to put the shiny side down on your rolling mat. The game that we've been playing most recently is very fitting to this because it is Japanese themed and it's called Hanumakoji. We've been to Hanumakoji. It is a card game where you have to bluff and outwit the person who's sitting opposite you, but you're not playing with a standard deck of cards, so it's a customized deck of cards that you're playing with. There are central big cards in the middle that have images on and a number, so an image and then a number 5. I'll insert an image here so you can see, and that number corresponds to how many of those cards are available in the deck. So if it says 5, there are 5 of those available. If it says 4, there are 4 of those available. You play with the whole deck, and in each go, you have to do one of 4 things. You have to save a card, get rid of 2 cards, offer 3 cards to your opponent and they'll take 1, or offer 2 sets of 2 to your opponent and they'll take 1 of those sets. So you have to do each of those 4 things in 4 goes, but you can do them in any order that you want. The aim is to collect as many sets as possible. So to win the 5 set, you have to have at least 3 cards. And you either have to win 4 sets to win or have sets up to the value of 11. And it is so tactical and you can get really good at it and sneaky, and it's really, really fun. So that's been our favorite game recently. All right, so I've rolled out the nori, and then you want to, I'm just gonna use my hands. I'm gonna put the rice about 2 grains deep across the bottom 3/4 of the nori. I don't know why that was so difficult to say and articulate. I know what I mean. It's difficult to tell other people what you're doing as you're doing it, apparently. I'm finding that hard today. You can use, and I do have a spreader. I don't know what the technical name for it is. It's like a wooden spatula, but I find it's just easier to use your fingers, to be honest. Next favorite thing, cheesy things. We haven't been watching much at all, not really much TV, but when we have been watching TV or films, we have been watching utter trash and delighting in it. So we watched the Eurovision film, and the soundtrack is now our workout soundtrack because it is so great. We have been loving Canada Drag Race and Drag Race All Stars 5, both of which, no, one of them's on BBC iPlayer and one of them is on Netflix. They are so good. And recently, what we've been enjoying has been Floor is Lava, which is on Netflix, and Ultimate Beastmaster, which is also on Netflix. They remind me of Gladiators from the 90s, which I used to love watching on a Saturday night. I don't know what it is about it. I just find it hilarious. I love that they have host presenters from all of the competing countries and they include their commentary in it. It's just so entertaining. If you haven't watched it, check it out. I'll link a trailer in the description box down below. It's always fun to try and guess how far someone is going to get. And honestly, sometimes the people who you think are going to be the most talented make really ridiculous mistakes early on, and then they just fall into the blood of the beast. Okay, so I've put the sushi rice 3/4 of the way up, and then you want to put your cucumber half of the way up the amount of rice. So not half the way up the seaweed, half up the rice. And I'm gonna have to cut a little bit off so that it goes all the way to the end. And then I'm also gonna line a bit of the wasabi mayo next to it. Oh, that's quite a lot actually. Didn't mean to drop that much in. Oh, it's fine. Oh, I just realized I also need a little bit of water and a brush for the end, so I'll get that now. Okay, so we have to roll really tightly And I'm not sure that I'm doing this correctly, but it has worked in the past when I have done it. So you want to press it down as much as possible. The next favourite, actually, can I talk and do this at the same time? Maybe not. Maybe I just need to roll and then come back to you. Tight. I always find that doing these, I say that like I do it all the time. I've only done this once before and it was 2 days ago. But I find that doing these is a little bit like doing pancakes. It takes you a while to get into the rhythm of doing it. So the first one is not normally the best one, but let's see. So, okay, so I have rolled, and then at the end, the seaweed has stuck down a bit by itself, but to help it along, I'm just gonna put a bit of water along the top. Okay, there we go. So we have our maki roll, and now we have to cut it into little, well, not little bits, into smaller bits. The next thing on my favorites list, I'm just going to cut off this because the ends are a bit raggedy. This means that I can have this little bit as a snack right now. It helps if your knife is a bit wet as well for cutting. The next thing on my favorites list is Bloom and Wild. So they are a flower delivery service. Not sponsored, not gifted, none of that. I just really like them. And I have been sending flowers to myself and to other people as well. They've just really brightened my day. They fit through your letterbox and they're just a delight. I line them up so that, like this, so that I'm always cutting the same size so that they are uniform. Look, little maki roll. I'll do a close-up in a minute because that's probably not easy to see. I'm really pleased with those actually. My aunt sent me some beautiful flowers this week, which have sunflowers and lots of other things in. And from some of the bouquets I've had in the past, I've managed to dry some flowers as well. So they will last, not forever, but for a really, really, really long time. And I put those dried flowers in jam jars, which I think looks super cute. If you can't go outside, bring the inside in and also dress like the outside. This is I think it was a limited edition Lucy and Yak from last year or the year before, and I love them, which is a great segue actually into clothes. I find during lockdown, we discover what we actually enjoy wearing and why. So I have been living pretty much in dungarees, which is not anything new actually. I lived in dungarees pretty much all the time pre-lockdown as well, but I have been living mostly in dungarees, but also in my Alexa trousers from Lucy and Yak. They are the most comfortable trousers. They have this elasticated waist. I have them in grey and navy and yellow, and I absolutely adore them. Lucy and Yak are a sustainable clothing company. They're wonderful. I will link them in the description box down below if you would like some super comfy, ethical clothes. Hooray. Speaking of clothing items, I wanted to recommend an Etsy shop called Pretty Robotnik. She makes, excuse me, getting rice all over my fingers. She makes face masks, and they are the best face masks that I have tried. And I think I've tried 3 different kinds. She puts really long nose wires at the top of them so you can mold the masks to your face, which is really great if you wear glasses because it means that your glasses don't steam up. And she has them in these beautiful patterns as well, so I will link her in the description box down below. I am not going outside much at all in the past few weeks. The only places I've been to are the post box at the end of our street, and I think we've been on 2 walks at 5 AM and that's it. But I want to wear them when I go out, even though I'm going out when there's no one else around, because I want to get used to wearing them so that when I do go out more, whenever that is, it will feel like a natural thing to do. I think making food and doing things where there is a product at the end has been really comforting. So board games, I guess, is something that you do and there's an end result. Cooking, baking, I've been doing so much baking. I have made recently bagels and donuts, pineapple upside down cake, sushi. I know that's not baking, but cooking, making pizza and pies. And it's a great way not only to break up your day, but to, I don't know, do something that, as I said, you follow a set of instructions and you get a result at the end, and that is really satisfying. I've also bought for Mr. M for his birthday, I got him this, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's a company called Sculpt, and it's to make pottery at home. So it's dry clay with acrylic paints, and I think that's going to be really great. I mean, I feel like I'm being a cliche. I'm ticking off stuff that everyone's been doing. We haven't done tie-dye yet, but it is on my list. I've made sushi, I've made lots of bread, I'm doing at-home clay making. There's the most ridiculous list of stuff, but I'm enjoying myself, so what can I say? I will report back on Sculpt once we've used it to tell you if we enjoyed it, but I'll also link it down below in the meantime in case you want to check it out for yourself. Some Booktube channels that I have been enjoying recently. None of these are new discoveries to me at all, but they're just the channels that I found myself gravitating towards more because I find them comforting and also fun. And whenever they upload a video, they're the people whose content I will watch immediately. They don't get added to watch later. I will stop what I'm doing and I will watch them. So I have been loving Seiji. She is a Dutch Nigerian booktuber, and she is ridiculously talented. She speaks so many different languages. She did a book review of a Japanese book in Japanese, and I felt entirely inadequate. She also paints and she writes poetry. She is just an absolute joy, and if you are not subscribed to her channel, you absolutely should be. Emma at Drinking by My Shelf, always an absolute pleasure. I particularly enjoyed recently her bookshelf tour that is not boring video, because it was not boring. I enjoyed it. It was like an episode of Cribs, but with books. I also love Emma's 24-hour readathons. They are brilliant. If you don't subscribe to her channel, you should. Links in the description box down below. I'm gonna magically refill this bowl of rice. I feel like I must apologize to any Japanese people watching this video. I'm really sorry. And also thank you for your delicious food that I am probably absolutely destroying right now. I do not mean to offend, though I think I offended so many people in Japan when we were there. We've been twice. We went once in 2015 and then once on our honeymoon as well. I made a video actually of our time in Japan the first time round, and I look so young in it. Also, I have so much hair. I'll link that down below if you want to go and look at a montage of our holiday. But yeah, Japanese people on the whole are so polite and want to help you fit in and be accommodating. So in restaurants, I would hold chopsticks, and obviously I mean, I'm quite impressed that I can eat with chopsticks, to be fair. It takes me probably longer than other people, but still, I can do it. But the way that I hold chopsticks looks like I am a Westerner who's holding these chopsticks completely incorrectly. And the amount of people, not who worked at the restaurant, but just, you know, who were sitting near us, who would be like, excuse me, and then they would try and show me how I should be holding chopsticks, only for me to hold up my hands and point out that I have several fingers missing and this is the only way that I can hold chopsticks. And of course, they are mortified at having caused offence to me, even though they haven't caused offence to me, but are worried that they've caused offence to me. The amount of apologising that ensues, my God, every mealtime. It became my party trick, I think, to unwittingly encourage people to come over and correct the way that I hold chopsticks. I hold them like this, which I recognise is actually really bad because it means that the top cross, and you shouldn't cross your chopsticks because it's bad luck. But you know, I can pick things up. So I try. And my final two booktubers that I wanted to mention to you today, actually one of them is not a booktuber. One of them is a, what do you call it? It's an art tuber? Is that a thing? Just an illustrator on YouTube. And I've mentioned her so many times before, but it's Fran over at Fran Nerd. Her videos are like a balm. They are so calming. And likewise, Monica Kim, she is a booktuber and her videos are also so calming. I would say actually they have quite a similar aesthetic and their color palettes are very similar. And Monica also does some drawing herself as well, but her videos are mostly about books. And I just love it. I love how she talks about food. I love how she talks about clothes. I love how she talks about illustration. I love her relationship with her mum, and it's just the best. If you're not subscribed to Monica or to Fran or to Seiji or to Emma, then please go subscribe to them, and they will be linked in the description box down below. I've realised making these that because I am cutting the cucumber up into 2 bits, it's actually making it slightly harder. So if you can cut the cucumber just 1 length, it will make your life much, much easier. Is it weird to have favourite mugs? I mean, I know it's not weird to have favourite mugs because I always have favourite mugs, but I feel like I've had favourite quarantine mugs, which weren't the mugs that I loved before, but I've been loving using the penguin mugs, which I bought ages ago and didn't use because normally I prefer these teacup style mugs. I don't know what it is about these times. Maybe it's because they're bookish and that's comforting, but they've been making the most perfect cup of tea and I adore them. What I have decided to do for the flatbread and hummus video, where I make homemade flatbread and homemade hummus, is because you guys enjoyed the video that I put up on Monday, which I'll link down below, where I was going through my currently reading pile and making bread at the same time. So I was, whenever the bread was rising, I was going to another book and giving it a second chance by reading it for half an hour. I'm going to do that with some unsolicited books that I have been sent, books that I'm not sure I want to keep. So I will make homemade flatbreads and homemade hummus whilst also reading those unsolicited books, kind of like a try a chapter tag, I suppose. And then I will report back and tell you which ones I'm gonna keep. So my wonky hands made some wonky maki rolls. They are delicious because I've been sampling them as we went along. I'm gonna go eat them now. And Mr. M and I are probably gonna play a game of Hanumakoji because we are predictable. Everything I've mentioned that I can link, I'll link in the description box down below. I would love to know in a comment what has put a smile on your face recently, what you have been enjoying doing, and I will see you guys very soon. Lots of love. Bye.